Welcome to the regular Library Building Committee public meeting of November 13th, held at 6 o'clock at the South Yarmouth Library. And we're going to begin with our roll call attendance. So I'm going to start on this side. Tom, please.
I'm Pendleton and I'm not remote.
And I'm here tonight. Yay.
Susan Britta, Planning Committee.
John Greco. Joseph LeBrecq.
Mindy Harrington.
Judy Clarence Tarver, I'm the chair of the meeting. Thank you, everyone. This is a hybrid meeting, and that's our announcement. Thank you. We're going to move into our housekeeping for minutes of October 16, 2025. This was the meeting where we had a bunch of is this the one we had no technical problems? And so we started the meeting basically at 7 o'clock by the time we got things straightened out. And Sandy captured that pretty nicely here. Are there any other corrections, comments? Oh, Tom, it was Tom remote again.
Panelists. David? We want to promote to panelists too. Yeah, I didn't see why not. Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, so I need them. Nope. Oh, Joe? Did you have a?
No.
Oh, okay, techno. All right, can I have a motion to accept the minutes as submitted, please?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, great. All right, and we have to do a roll call vote. All in favor, John,
John, I.
Susan?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. Minutes are approved for October 16th. And then let's move to minutes for October 30. And then I had this one of Mindy because she was remote and quiet, but she was listed as absent, so she just needs to be as an attendee. Anyone else have anything on these minutes? Okay, so can I have a motion to accept these minutes?
As amended, Judy?
Yes,
The minute-
as amended.
So
Thank you.
moved. I move to accept the October 30 Library Committee meeting as amended.
Thank you, Susan. And second,
Second.
we'll give that one to John.
Okay.
All right, and we'll do a roll call vote. Tom? Andy? Aye. Susan?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Dorcas, we're voting on the minutes of
Aye.
October 30. Thank you. Motion carried. All right. Let's get those things taken care of. And welcome, Matt.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah.
Did you guys promote Marika?
I just saw that one. I got it right now.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so who else do we have up there? Tim and Bob
Hi, everybody.
and Libby.
evening.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hi, Marika. Hi, Libby.
Hi.
Okay. All right, so we're going to move to public comment. And let's see. Linda, do you have anything at this point? I might invite you to the table at the aspect for outreach possibilities, but if you have anything else at this point.
It has materialized yet for the fundraising. We have something scheduled for Monday, and so when that happens, there'll be a lot more to talk about.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, can we move into item 4, which is program updates? So there's been a lot of activity on program with Marika and David, and let's see who else was involved in that. Both of you in the program phone calls, and Phoebe maybe? Okay, so then there were some notes, and then those got modified a little bit too. Okay, well, there was Marika's notes and then you had some notes.
Yeah, that was a follow-on. So I guess I can start and then Marika, jump in or however you want to do it.
Okay.
And obviously, maybe and Joe. So we met, we being the library staff, including me, met with Marika and Libby on the 31st. We had a very lengthy and intense afternoon. We met for about 4.5 hours. First, we discussed the community areas of the building, and then we kind of broke out into groups. Mindy and I worked with Marika and Libby on the youth services area, and then in the afternoon, Joe, Phoebe, Marika, Libby, and I worked on the adult services area of the building. So very productive. If you've had the chance to look over the notes, we really covered quite a lot of ground. I don't know if anyone has any specific questions, but we've really moved a long way in terms of identifying certain concerns that we had around, securing the community wing. We're still sort of working on something for that. We talked about the kitchenette and sort of the things that it would be used for. Mindy had a lot of thoughts about the size of different areas of the children's room, the need for more storage. That was a real concern. Marika and Libby were able to see kind of some of the stuff that Mindy and Rebecca use and get a better sense of how much volume there is. We moved the, it's called the nursing room,
Lactation room, yeah.
Yeah, we rearranged that, and, a whole bunch of other things in that area. We talked about the exits, how things would, whether there would be, any type of emergency exit off of the deck on that part of the building, because it is at grade, and how we might address that. The need for, a sink and some other things in the story hour room for food programming.
Plus a larger story time room.
Plus a larger room, yep. So, let me see. Oh yeah, moving the door. It was sort of in the middle of the wing, moving it to the end of the wing so that, for security and some other things. One of the things that came up that we hadn't really talked about or thought too much about was with the revised staff area. We kind of reviewed the need for offices, which was a big part of the follow-on meeting that Joe and I had, because I don't think it was anything we'd really thought about. And so we had to spend a bunch of time after that meeting kind of thinking about how many staff we might have in a given day, what their schedules would be like, what kind of, off public desk space, workspaces they might need. So we spent a bunch of time after that. I'll get to that in the follow on. And we talked about the CERT desk. We removed the self-checkouts, kind of revised the printing area to make it easier for the staff to help the patrons, because that's something we do literally all day. Adding a second area for either with more public computers or for people with like laptops in proximity to the print station if they want to just come down, plop a laptop down and make some prints, something like that. We talked about study rooms, being able to view into the study rooms and some of that stuff if we have some concerns. The location of the reference desk, whether it might be moved in the wing. And that was a bunch of it. So, and then, yeah, that was a lot of, and some other things. We also kind of reviewed what had happened at our Norwell visit. So that was very productive. It was very tiring. So then we kind of were left with some homework, a lot of which was around the offices and some of the other details. So we then met the next week, all of us kind of as a staff and individually, to talk about different areas of the building we had concerns about. And out of that, I put together some of these notes that we then forwarded to Marika and Libby prior to our meeting, which was on November 7th. And that was just with Joe and I, because Phoebe and Mindy were away. So talked a lot about the book drop. we've got a couple of theories on that. It is gonna be built into the building. We do want a book drop room. But we're not, the location is still a little bit up in the air. Talked about the layout of the staff workroom. Norwell has a specific layout, so, we kind of wanted to go with that. And then we talked a lot about, offices, how many we need. Right now, we're thinking, I guess I get an office. We need an
look at
office
you.
for, we need an office for Toby. And then, an office for the search supervisor. There's an existing, staff conference room that I think we would turn into like multi-use for, multiple search staff members, like 3 or 4 desks in there. The configuration of the technical services area is going to be kind of a U. One of the bigger changes was adding a reference office behind the reference desk so that somebody could work there when they're off desk time. Talked about useful services, library of things storage, an additional office for a future assistant director, just because that probably will be in the mix someday, maybe 20 years. But, kitchen equipment and bulletin boards. And then we actually did talk at some length about access to the building. So then when Joe and I met with Marika and Libby, reviewed many of these details and whatever. So that's most of what I have. I'm turn it over to Marika and Libby because they probably have their thoughts on.
Okay, so it looks like Libby's teed up here.
Oh, let
Um,
me change the view.
Hi, Marika.
Hi there. I think it will be easier for us to discuss if I just show the plan and show how we've integrated everything. With the caveat that this is still very much a work in progress and we've tried to fit everything in that we can, but we're still tweaking things and trying to make things work. So let me just share my screen here. All right. Is everyone seeing that?
Mhm.
Great. Okay, so this is just a look at the last time that you guys saw the building plan. Sorry, I just wanted to highlight some of the areas that were particularly in question. The reference desk here, the staff area obviously needs to grow quite a bit. Were some tweaks to this wing because of moves of the Friends room and then integrating the book drop area. And then we've made some changes to the organization and dimensions of the children's wing. So this is the new configuration that we're working on. Again, nothing has moved dramatically, but we've just tried to integrate all the changes into each wing. Let me zoom into the working plan. I'll start in the area where there's the least changes potentially so that we can talk about them one by one. So we moved the Friends back of house space to the front. So it's directly adjacent to the Friends store, which we enclosed. So now there's a direct relationship there. We haven't had a chance to look at seating and how that might work, but we've moved the door to the children's and teens wing out to the lobby end so that wing can be shut down in cases of emergency or just for better control. So as you step into that wing, the teens room is mainly untouched. We've just shifted where the teens desk is. So there's a direct line of sight between the teens desk to the children's desk through the YA workroom. And there's access from the YA workroom to both children's and teens. And then the office is directly behind that. We can potentially put a window in that office. This is a comment from the MBLC, put a window from that office into teens so there's more oversight if someone was working in that office. We've added a storage room, but directly behind the circulation desk and adjacent to all the staff spaces, which is just slightly larger than the spaces that we measured on site with Mindy. when we totaled up everything, it came out to be about 265 square feet. So this room right now is about 280. So it will meet your current needs. But we should talk about whether we need to plan for growth. So we're still showing this story hour space in the towards the rear of the building with the potential to have an outdoor space here, but this could shift. We're still looking at the best configuration for that. The other change we made, which we need to run by you in particular, Mindy, is that it seemed like there was some conflicting ideas about whether a mother's room or a nursing room is necessary and how much it would get used. And I made a decision to combine the sensory room with the comfort room so that potentially a space that's not always in use can do double duty for that function. So first of all, it's close to teens and children's, but also close to the exit of the wing, so that if, for instance, if you had staff or other patrons that needed to use the mother's room, they could just walk right in the door here. And that opens up the rest of the children's space without that sort of interruption of that room, which may or may not get used. I think that's it for that area. Oh, no, that's not true. We looked at the size of the story hour and multipurpose room because Mindy was concerned that the room that's currently in use for programs for children's are occupying a larger space. We tested, actually 42 seats in that room, and they did work in a sort of auditorium style seating and a more of a radial pattern that might work for a story hour. So we did find that that room was sufficient for that purpose, but we should probably talk a little bit more about the number of tables that need to be accommodated right now. Obviously, we're seeing 6, which fit pretty nicely, and added a counter with a fridge, which is not currently shown in plan, but basically added that counter space with extra storage. Yeah, I believe that's it for that wing. And then if we move up to adults,
Marika, before you leave that wing,
Mhm.
so there would be a refrigerator under the counter in that story hour room.
probably a full size fridge.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Was there going to be another refrigerator somewhere in there?
9 children's elsewhere in the
Um,
building.
Elsewhere in the building, but not in that wing?
Correct.
Okay,
Hmm.
thank you.
There's a kitchen adjacent to the auditorium that's for
Right.
use during programs, but it's a little bit of a distance, and we're to understand that there's quite a few children's programs that have food programming.
Then is there a refrigerator for staff?
Yes, there's also a break room in the staff.
Right, so there are 3 refrigerators.
There are 3, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so moving up to staff, we didn't make dramatic differences other than we flipped the individual study rooms so that they're all facing the desk, so there's more oversight, and eliminated the internal corridors so that there's a direct line of sight from the reference desk into those rooms. It does create a little bit of sort of dead space in the plan. And the MBLC has raised some questions about whether sort of facing outwards and having the door behind you is acceptable to the staff. So we should talk about that. We know that you requested an office directly behind the reference desk, but we did try that, and we felt that the flow of the space is interrupted by that room, and the sight lines are also interrupted. So if you think about the sight lines through the space, if we put a room right here, you basically get this area you can't see behind that from circulation. If someone was always at the reference desk, it might be a little bit different, but it also just basically interrupted the free circulation down the wing. So right now we've relocated the reference librarian's office here. If that feels okay, we can continue to show it this way. We can also add that, you know, off circulation desk space to the larger staff room. But we should talk about this as well. Everything else is pretty much the same in adults. And then if we go down to the
I'm
audit,
going to-
Yep.
Can I stop you again?
yeah,
So back to your comment about the reference desk and where the small study rooms are, and you were saying something about which way the staff were facing?
oh, not the
and-
staff, the actual users of the room. So if you, the MBLC has called this out as a question mark for the operation of the building. So right now these were intended as single user rooms, but we can fit 2 people. And the last time we had a conversation about it was, the intent was that it would be like a single person using it as a phone room, or as, you know, working on a laptop at a counter or table. And
Right.
the idea was that we could potentially increase the occupancy to 2,
Mhm.
so that, for instance, if people were working together, or if they were having a call together, or something like that, it would work. I think the MBLC is concerned that this is less flexible than having a table and chairs, freestanding, kind of like in the larger group study rooms. And that perhaps that, you know, having having the entry behind you might, I don't know, be uncomfortable for patrons. So it's just something to raise
Oh,
with you all.
now I'm understanding.
Why would it be uncomfortable?
I
I
don't,
think they're just concerned about, you know, if you're in that room, you can't see who's approaching the room. So, you know, could somebody come in without you sort of being aware that they were about to do that? I think it was more of a kind of occupant comfort issue for them than, it's not an issue of supervision by staff or anything like that. I think it was more about the level of comfort of the people in the room having their back to the door and not seeing sort of behind them.
You anticipate the doors to be locked?
No, I don't think that we can allow for locked doors.
Okay.
Would it be a design problem to turn if they have a built-in counter or desk, to turn it to the side so that the person is sitting sideways to the door? Is that?
we can, the dimensions of the room might need to change, but yes, we can.
Or could the number, so what are there, 6?
There were 6, yeah.
Yeah.
6. So what if there were 2 set up that way and 3 that were a little larger that had tables in them?
Well, we have 2 rooms that are exactly what you just said. So we have 3
Yeah.
sizes of rooms. We have the large meeting room, we have 2 group study rooms meant for 4. And then the intent that we talked about previously was that we had 6 rooms that were individual study, but could accommodate 2.
Right.
We, the library I came from had a setup similar to that. We only had 2, but the desks were like on the side. The person was sitting sideways to the door. They worked really well. People liked them. So, I mean, again, I'm not saying we have to go that route at all, but operationally, we never had any complaints about people feeling boxed in, and they were truly single person rooms. They were very small. So.
Okay, well, I mean,
My
we can,
understanding is that you're saying if the counter were on the side, just because of clearances with the door opening and having accessibility requirements, then the dimensions of those small rooms would have to change. Did I understand that correctly?
they might, we just need to take a look.
Is there such a thing as like a fold down counter? That
I mean, the MBLC actually prefers freestanding tables for true flexibility, although I'm not sure what you would use these rooms for other than what they're being used for, because they're quite small.
Yes.
So, but
You know, we can look at a couple of different layout options, both, you know, flipping the desk to the side, David, as you're suggesting, which, as Marika said, might require us to widen each of the rooms slightly. So we can look at that. We can also look at what it would take to get a freestanding table with two, opposing chairs in each room. That's going to, I think, require a greater increase in width. But we can look at both of those and see what the impact is to the overall. It means, Marika, if you zoom out, it means that the length of that kind of block of rooms along the side gets longer, putting a little pressure on, say, periodicals or the area that's below the large study room. So we can look at it, but there's probably a little bit of flexibility in terms of how much those rooms could grow to accommodate different seating arrangements.
Okay, I don't want to belabor it. Thank you.
I think for us, maybe the bigger question that would be helpful to get some feedback on is the reference librarian. As Marika said, we looked at it behind the desk as initially requested, and for the reasons that she stated, we moved away from that. It's also worth mentioning that if we put an office behind the desk where that desk is now, it's a fixed element in this otherwise long open space that it has, I think, circulation and sightline issues now, but it also impacts potential flexibility. Like if, right now the reference desk is located sort of between nonfiction and fiction collections, as I understand it. So that fixed object, that room, kind of draws a line in the sand and says, this is, this area is always this thing, and this area is always this other thing. And it doesn't give you the flexibility to sort of expand and contract the different areas. So we just felt like there was greater flexibility if we untethered it from the desk. And so, David, I guess the question is that a workable solution in your view?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, really, I was imagining this as a very small, like single person occupancy, like basically something not significantly larger than one of the study rooms. I mean, it looks like what you've designed is substantially larger, which is fine. But if you feel it impacts, the placement of periodicals or anything else, then by all means, it doesn't need to be quite so large.
Okay.
I think really the intention was just to give the person some off-desk space to work. I think originally my thought was that the person could potentially be in there supervising someone on the desk if they had to, but the reality is that there would have to be someone, I'm imagining that there would have to be someone on that desk at all times anyway, so it probably doesn't matter if the person is a short distance away.
Okay.
I don't really think that impacts anything.
Okay, great.
Does it make sense for their off-desk space to be integrated into the staff area and include them with the rest of the staff instead of being sort of isolated?
I don't know, just because right now, we do have a vacant position for the person in that role, but I'm imagining that I don't know, I think I like the idea of them being available because if we go, the thought on this is that we're going to sort of shift to a more shift model where instead of currently people spend basically all of their day on the public service desks, and we would have more, on and off desk time. But I think the idea of having the reference librarian accessible to whoever's working on that desk, because it probably wouldn't be another librarian, I think is a really good thing, because just the kind of questions that person might get, the person who's on that desk, I mean, it might be a situation where, hey, let me just run over and get, whoever the librarian is to help you with that. So I think that probably makes more sense from a functional perspective.
I guess the way I was thinking of it too was the tasks that person would be doing are kind of solo tasks and not necessarily communal tasks that would need to be near the other staff activity area.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of, I mean, I won't speak for Joe and Mindy, but, I think we all appreciate the value of having somebody in the area, because if all of a sudden a whole crowd of people comes in and you need a hand, the ability to get somebody over to help you quickly, I think that gives us that option, whereas this person would be really isolated if the reference person is in the staff area, then you could page them or something, but it might be several minutes before they get there instead of just walking over or whatever you do to get them over to help you. So
There is a need for a discrete place for a reference library too, to talk about sensitive issues with patrons. So
Would there be
it's
a
good to have it.
window so that if somebody's in that office, they can see? Yeah,
or something like that.
There could be. We haven't actually double checked the shelving counts. These are sort of conceptual at this point. So for continuity, we were just showing shelving up against that wall, but you could easily replace that with a glazed portion. Let's move down to staff. So in deference to the conversation about deliveries and the fact that they might be coming through the front door, we changed the sort of the relationship of the desk and the door so that there is sort of a direct line between the front door and back of house. So right now the private offices are lining the outside so that they're, we're trying to prioritize giving windows to each of the staff members in a private office. With the exception of the group workroom, something need to be in the center, but as you walk in the door, I know you described when we spoke before of having the library of things directly behind that wall. It seemed functionally like having the delivery workstations out of the line of that door made more sense. And then there was a direct relationship between delivery, book processing, and technical services. And then the library of things is again directly inside the door. And I don't know how much it's accessed, but we can talk about that relationship and if it should flip. There's a sort of wrapping desk right now, a closet potentially for just small storage or for coats. And then there's a little print station right here. I don't know if you have a freestanding or desk mounted printer, but that could be either again flipped. The workroom for 4 is just basically, 4 workstations, not much else going on in that space. Director's office with direct access from the public into the space, and then a door to the staff suite. And then we have a break room right here, which is a little bit undersized at the moment, but we can talk a little bit more about that later. A slightly larger assistant director's office, which until that position is filled can be for some other use, or you could break up the staff into more than one office. This right now is the administration office, that Toby's office, technical services akin to the way Norwell was set up, and the circulation workroom, which we separated because of a comment from the MBLC that Joe, your office might want to have a direct line of sight out the door into the circulation area. And then we have a small alcove that leads to the staff restroom, again, a small storage closet for coats or other things, and then a server room or potentially additional storage. So that's how it's looking at the moment. No, and then I'm sorry, we incorporated the holds that you discussed, 12 feet of hold storage directly behind the desk. And then the circulation desk continues. There's a small piece here that could potentially be powered for self-service stations. So it's adjacent to the desk. It could be used for other things, but in the case that you end up wanting self-check stations, they're sort of directly adjacent to the desk without being completely connected. And then I thought that could be a good place for bulletin boards or some kind of informational screen. And then we've relocated the print station or print service station sort of directly in line with the circulation desk so that they can kind of do a quick step outside with just a little bit of room to separate the two. And then we have the 6 reference and OPACs if you want them, and then 6 stations for people on laptops. So they're directly adjacent to the print station with easy access to circulation for help. So I don't know if we want to discuss these areas.
I'd like to talk about the Library of Things,
Mhm.
and this is just the Children's Library of Things?
No,
I don't see the children's area.
Okay, I thought I had heard somewhere in there the children's. Okay. Thank you. Anyone else have anything in that staff area? Yeah, well, they still have to do the other wing, yeah.
should we keep going or do you want to talk about staff or?
No, I don't hear anything, so let's
Okay.
keep going.
Okay.
I just want to say, Marika, I really like actually the idea that you kind of made a straight shot through into the room from behind the desk. I think
Oh,
probably
yeah.
makes a lot of sense. I was thinking about it differently at the time, but I can see how rearranging it in this way could work very well, so.
Yeah, so right now, if you were to access the back entrance, for some reason, there is a direct access sort of straight through the sort of utility wing, but straight through to staff, potential coat closet, and the same thing. So it's basically like at a junction.
Okay, Marika,
Yep.
we have a question from John.
So is
Sure.
there a maintenance or cleaning room at all?
Yep. So there's basically 2 single-user restrooms and then multi-stall restrooms here, a janitor's closet here. So you do enter the back of house to get to that janitor's
Okay.
closet. And then this is basically a service suite where you have, a water service room, mechanicals, electrical, and other utilities. Right now, this is showing a really large corridor, which would not be the case, but like I said, this is in progress, so we can fix that up. And we've started engaging our consultants, so we need to have some feedback from them in terms of how big these spaces really should be.
Anyone else before Marika leaves this part of the plan? Okay,
No comment on any of the program or anything, but Jen is just in the not the waiting room, but she's on the meeting. If you just get promoted to panelist, that would be much appreciated. Thank you.
So we also spoke at our program meetings about being able to close off the community wing in an expedient way. We got some feedback that there are some operation problems with the mobile screen the security screen that's in Norwell. So we looked at some options like this. This could be a glass wall with a double set of doors that could easily be closed or locked. Right now, this is showing a folding glass wall that you could basically push to the sides during business hours and then close up during the day. We can talk more about options for that, but it basically closes off this wing. If for some reason there's no program going on, it's a little tricky with the bathrooms. We have to talk about that a little bit more too, but this is basically, if you close this off, this entire wing becomes after hours community access with a door towards the end. We have the classroom here and multipurpose room, added some storage within the rooms. And then the way we've integrated the book drop is when you first spoke about it, David, the idea was to have this sort of end condition where there's a book drop. We got some red flags also from the MBLC on that, in that they've had some issues at other libraries where when there's programs going on in the auditorium and people drop off the books, there's a acoustic problem that people can hear them coming in. The other problem operationally is that you obviously have to go through the auditorium, so you might have to open a locked door, and it's a longer walk. So we were thinking that there might be some way to integrate the program on this end. So the drop off is over here, and then you can walk undercover to the book drop and potentially have the lockers outside. So this is book drop here, kitchenette for the auditorium, and then storage.
You came up with here is actually exactly what we kind of, I think, had in mind.
Okay,
Not this, but that layout was, I think, kind of what we all were thinking of.
I have a
um,
question. Would the lockers be available for pickup after hours or only when the library is open?
I believe they were intended for after hours, so
Okay,
it would
just wanna
be
make sure.
potentially somewhere under this cover, but along this building face. Or potentially
then-
on this end if there was,
The storage room there, is that intended to have the capacity for all the tables that would be used in the gathering room? Auditorium, I
Correct.
guess we're calling it.
that's the intent. We just need to double check, that all of the dollies are able to fit, and the tables when they're nested fit in this room. I mean, it's a fairly generous room. It's 250 square feet, but we'll just have to double check as we move along.
I think
Okay,
that's
thank
the
you.
same size that we had in Norwell, which was David and Joe and Phoebe saw that when they visited, and it's pretty generous. I mean, they're able to accommodate, forget how many tables, but all of the tables and chairs for a room of comparable size, plus some additional space for, I think there's some AV equipment in there. There's a number of other things. I think 250 square feet is ample for this space. But we can study it more closely.
Okay, Susan has a question.
What is the difference between the classroom and the multi-purpose room, multi-function room, or whatever you call it? What is the difference?
So we've come to understand that the conference room, which is shown, or multi-purpose room, is more likely to be used for meetings, town meetings, anyone who has more of a conference style setup. We've the conversations we had around that space where it's most likely to the furniture might shift, different configurations be made. The classroom seems to be more of a teaching space where people could have laptops and more of a teaching environment, crafts, things like that.
Will classes actually be conducted at the library?
So right now, that would work as like the Leonard Room for adults and one for children so that we don't have that competition of use of space. So this allows Sarah to be running an art program while I'm hosting a different art program for kids in the other wing.
Those will be available at night.
The idea would be, this would be a room like adult crafts or other things like that, that we probably wouldn't want to do in the auditorium.
But they could be, you could use both of them
Mhm.
for meetings or both
Yep.
classes. Okay. How large is the auditorium?
So about 1,500 square feet.
How many seats?
They've been back and forth with the
It's 120.
120? Okay. And there's one, just confirmation. The square footage hasn't changed, just how you've reconfigured it. Correct? I
Correct.
mean, it's still 24,000 square feet. The building's not getting any bigger, correct?
The building has gotten bigger.
It has gotten bigger. How
It
much
has,
bigger?
I think programmatically, it should be hitting about 26,200 or something like that. We're a little bit over at the moment, but again, we're still tightening things up. But yeah, it has
Okay.
grown a little bit based on the feedback we've gotten, improvements to the staff area. Some of the extra spaces like book drop and friends and things like that.
Maybe, can I ask you one other question? What is the occupiable square feet?
The net,
Yes.
that is an excellent question. I think it's around 20,000. Hold on, let me just pull it up.
20,000?
It's about 20,000.
Okay, and of the 20,000, can you tell me in percentages, what percentage is actually dedicated to shelves with books? How much is dedicated to open space and how much is dedicated to support space? Just in terms of percentages.
That's a difficult question for me to answer off the top of my head.
Mhm.
I could figure it out and get back to you, but it is a
Okay.
little tricky. I can pull up the,
If you could just get that to Judy, that would be fine.
Yep.
That would be great.
sure.
Thank you.
Just a
So,
quick question, if I
so,
could.
I'm sorry.
Lorica,
just-
Excuse me, Marika,
Sorry.
another question from Dorca.
One
Oh,
more
sure.
question.
Yep.
When you were talking about the classroom and the conference room, are you saying that if people were using the conference room, they would not be using laptops? Because I
They
can
could-
envision that
could
an
be.
awful lot of meetings would have laptops.
No, we'll design the rooms for flexibility, so floor power if we need it, probably in both spaces.
Okay, good.
The furniture will be mobile, so you'll be able to reconfigure. The impression we got from the staff is that the classroom is much more likely to be a sort of stable space, and so part of what's happened as we've reconfigured the building is that the classroom has to date been a smaller room, and it's grown a little bit because of the different needs of the building. But they could essentially operate exactly the same way.
Okay, and
And-
Susan
and
has
wait,
a
wait,
follow-up.
The seats in the auditorium, are they fixed? Are they,
No.
so actually that space could also be sort of a multi-purpose space if we had to, if we want to have a big reception or something, you could use that space.
Yeah, so for the bigger
Okay.
programs, we'll be using the auditorium. For anything that's over, like for children's, we can see up to 45 right now. If it's anything bigger than that, we move in there.
And the
so.
expectation is the seats would go into that, be able to be stacked
Yes.
into that
Yep.
storage room.
We're sort of thinking that the multipurpose room is like a true meeting room. Use sort of, that's its primary focus, whereas the classroom would be more set up to be, a flexible space for programming.
Yeah.
Classroom, we might call it a programming room as opposed to a
Yeah.
classroom, although it could be used for meetings if that was what it's.
So if you think about it, meeting like this could be held in the multipurpose room.
Or the
Yes.
classroom.
Or the classroom.
Whatever's available.
And some of our more popular groups that keep on coming back, the Sons of the Revolution, could have a meeting in the classroom or the multipurpose room while Sarah's running an art program. And so once again, there's not that competition for space.
So I guess what I'm hearing is a question about the need for two different terms. Is there a need for two different terms for those two spaces?
They seem to be reconfigurable no matter what you do. I mean, they're not fixed.
And the classroom's a little bit larger than the multi-purpose room.
They're basically the same size at the moment, which was the intent of the original program document. And then we kind of had some back and forth of it. One of them got smaller, but they could essentially be two 600 square foot rooms.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's so staff, I guess, do you see a real need for two different terms?
And Bob also has a hand up.
I'm sorry?
Bob has his hand up too, just to
When
let
you're
you
ready.
know, when you're ready.
Oh, Bob, did you want to chime in here?
Oh, he's muted.
Okay, I'm unmuting. Well, yeah, I mean, I just had, and I know, I think these are issues that the designers are, already considering strongly, but I just wanted to, chime in on a couple of points is that, a lot of these spaces, especially, the classroom spaces and a lot of the open spaces, I hope we can continue to consider them as flexible as possible. That, I mean, it's great to be able to factor in the types of programs that we use now, but I'm fully convinced that in the future, with a facility of this quality, that the types of programs and the quality of programs that we're going to be offering is going to grow exponentially. And I think that, the staff is going to, depend very mightily on having the flexible spaces that, they can use to just expand the way that programs are even conceived of. So I really like the idea of having the flexible space. I wasn't sure if I missed that you mentioned that between the two classrooms, if that wall was movable so that you could essentially have, the big room, two small rooms, or two larger rooms for a special event, that might be something worth considering. And another thing I wanted to mention is that, especially for these public spaces, the classrooms, the meeting rooms. I hope that we do everything we can to foster the highest degree of the technological ability in these rooms. I mean, I envision them being used to televise programs, to connect with the, you know, the outside world at a very, you know, advanced rate from what types of things that we're doing now, and to have that flexible space with the programming capacity and the technology. I really think it would open up for all of the wonderful new things that we're going to be doing with this facility. And just a last thing on the last project that I worked on for library, and I've done a couple of them. One thing, we built a beautiful library, but we forgot about, you know, the Friends came up with this program, you know, afterward, that they wanted to, you know, start doing these major events and book sales, and then they wound up with a lot of gear, and you know, we really wanted to you know, stimulate that and support it. But what wound up happening is we didn't build enough kind of flexible storage space so that we could give the you know, the Friends an area to store all of their books and things of that nature in between the sales. And we wound up having to build a shed out back so anyways, I just was thinking that the Friends are going to do things that you haven't even thought of, you know, in the future, because this library is going to attract you know, tremendous outpouring of community participation and support. And so maybe that's just a thing for I know they're going to form, and they're going to want storage, and they're going to want to participate. And so those are just a couple of comments I had. Thanks for listening to me.
Thanks, Bob. I'm gonna push this back to Marika so she can point out the Friends areas, because there are two, and one is storage.
So right now, the Friends book sale room is here. It's about 150 square feet, and shelving and glass wall. And then there's a Friends back of house room, which is about 200 square feet. So again, has shelving, space for storage. Whether that's sufficient, I think we would probably look for you all to tell us if that's enough space. As we already discussed, the building has grown a little bit, so we definitely want to give them what they need, but not grow the building too much if it's unnecessary.
Okay, I'm going to ask Linda Callahan, who's here from and Tom are both from South Yarmouth Friends.
No, go ahead.
Well, essentially, the 150 square feet is equal to the book sale area that we have now. And right now, we have no other space for storage, meeting, or anything like that, except in the basement where discards and things that are going to be given away are kept. So that it basically, it actually more than doubles what we have. As far as large book sales, which many libraries do put on, right now, we do not do that because it's very labor intensive. But typically it's usually done in a large meeting room that's already in the library that's used for multiple things. So as far as whether that's going to happen, that's, you know, anybody's guess as to whether we'll go back to that. Whether you want to provide for that kind of space at this point in time, I don't know how you could justify it, because based on the program right now, we have double what we have.
Right, and I would think any large book sale could happen in our auditorium.
Those other,
Right.
Yeah.
storage of books is another thing, and to prepare for that, I don't know how much space you want to put aside for that.
But with the book sale operation that you do, you want those things moving through, so.
We want them moving through and out.
Yeah.
We don't want to be storing a lot of things. And you also want it available to the public, otherwise you have to man it and have hours. And right now, that labor isn't built into the operation, and it generates a good amount of revenue without doing it that way. We don't depend upon that as the major fundraiser to provide the money to give back to the library.
Okay,
Does that help?
yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So did we leave off in the community area? I'm not sure we got questions that were on people's minds for the community area. Oh, my question is still in the air, which is there a need to have two different terms for those two rooms?
Yeah.
Or do we want to go with multi-purpose room for both of them to kind of foster that idea? If you come up with an idea, we have a room for it.
I think it connotes more flexibility when you say multi-purpose. Classroom is kind of like a sort of fixed, more of a fixed environment. I think multi-purpose is more
Yeah.
flexible. I think it's more sellable. It's more, you don't like that idea.
Oh, it goes either way. I don't, if it's there,
long
I
as it can
mean,
be
because
used.
eventually they
be
won't
used.
have those necessarily those names like posted on the doors. So that being said, I don't necessarily think the different names matter as much, and the classroom gives ideas that we will be giving programs that are educational, like the Clams Library Card Program Phoebe runs. Girls at Code could go in there with the laptops. So it gives more of a learning opportunity, where a multi-purpose room to me is a more like fun space. You go in there, you can have a meeting, which isn't really fun, but you could go in there and learn a craft. And so that the difference, I like having the classroom because it provides the education that the library is
What about the
here to
movable wall between the two rooms?
that had been discussed. We discussed it at one meeting, I thought.
Actually, it may have been before you came.
Yeah, because we asked for pocket doors and whatnot, and we got on it. Yeah, we got distracted. That was like briefly discussed.
I remember being in a discussion on that.
Yeah.
way- Yeah, back a bit, and that we had decided that for acoustics and so on.
That was
And I think the other thing was going back to Bob's idea. For example, if you had large screens in both of those rooms, they may need to be on that common wall because you've got the hallway wall with storage and door, and then the window wall. And so you have limited wall space if that's an accordion.
Operating there.
But
Yeah,
I think the biggest thing was the acoustic.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the conversation we had, that those mobile partitions don't always operate that well. It's another thing to break, and the acoustics aren't great. So if there's any kind of private meeting going on between in either of those spaces, or where acoustics are important, or there's projected sound, those walls can be problematic. And the other thing I think we talked about was that the auditorium is a large space that can have a large events. And that I think everyone agreed that it was unlikely that there would be two 1,500 square foot events going on at the library at the same time. That it would be possible to program the spaces so that if people need a large space, they use auditorium.
Okay, thank you for that recap. So where do we sit on this now, Marika? Where are we with program? What do you see as next step?
Well, I think once you have time to digest and we give this presentation to everybody, that we'd be looking for feedback from David and all the library staff on the back of house and how it works and what needs to move, adjacencies, things like that.
Okay.
So there's that. Any feedback on, adults and how it's working, or children's, and again, adjacencies and if it's working or not working would be great. And we have started conversations with our consultants, including MEP and structural, and, definitely that utilities corridor and rooms will change to some degree. So that will be a moving target as we move forward, but that will be for quite a while. And then this, figuring out how this auditorium and this subsidiary spaces work will be, again, sort of being tweaked for a little bit. But things are definitely settling down. I don't know if Matt, you have some input
Yeah,
on this.
I mean, one thing I would say is we've made some increases as we talked about earlier. So the building has grown again. We've added some rooms, you know, based on the back and forth with staff. We've created some new spaces. So the building has gotten a little bit bigger, and we should just make sure that everybody is comfortable with that, and that, you know, we want to make sure that whatever changes we're making are, you know, acceptable to everybody, because at a certain point we're gonna say, all right, this is it. We're setting the plan. This is the square footage. And I mean, we can tighten things up a little bit. We can probably get a little bit of efficiency by, you know, just kind of massaging things. But it is a slightly bigger building as a result of those conversations. So we want to make sure that that everybody understands that, and that that's acceptable. I think the NBLC has no problem with the building getting bigger, but obviously as it gets bigger, it gets, you know, more expensive. So that's really a decision for the committee, I think, to make in terms of whether or not they're comfortable with it. In terms of next steps, the other thing I want to mention, we talked about this at the last meeting, is getting in front of some of the local officials. And I know we've got the meeting set up with the planning board. Susan, thank you for helping to organize that with Kathy. That's on December 3rd. And my understanding of that is this is an informal presentation of the project to the planning board. I think it would also be helpful prior to that, and the sooner the better, ideally, you know, next week. It would be great to have a kind of working meeting with town staff. So somebody from planning, somebody from zoning, the fire chief, the police chief, you know, somebody from, I don't know if Concom is going to be sort of at play here or not, but basically kind of get our civil engineer, our landscape architect, us in a room with the people that ultimately have opinions about how this project needs to move forward. What requirements are there going to be for certain things? Parking is a big one. We want to make sure that we understand what the town expectation is for parking. There's still, I think, some confusion or lack of clarity, I guess, about what the right number of parking spaces is. We have a kind of proposed way of approaching the parking counts, which is a little bit different from what zoning calls for, but zoning also doesn't specifically address libraries. They, you know, this is lumped in with assembly occupancy spaces like theaters and churches, which are kind of different, frankly. So I think the sooner we have those conversations, the better. And I'm not sure the best way to do that. Should that be coordinated through Kathy?
Well, I thought, Bob, yeah, I thought Jay was working on this.
Yeah, sure. No, Jay's working on it, but let me address Matt's question specifically. I just want everyone to know that, you know, we have a very well developed site plan review process that involves all of our town officials in a comprehensive framework. And the gatekeeper for that is Mark Grills, the building commissioner. He chairs that up, and Kathy will be in attendance, but Mark Grills will set that up. So you just need to contact his office. You can even email him at mgrylls@yarmouth.ma.us. And he'll set up the whole process with all of the invitations, and it'll be a perfect opportunity to do exactly what you're suggesting.
Okay, great. We'll do that.
Bob, you're directing your comments to Matt?
Yeah, well, to Matt,
To
sure.
Matt? Okay, because I thought at one point there was an exchange of emails and Jay was going to take, I just don't want to get a lot of wires crossed, so.
All right, can I address that just briefly? I think that, you know, when you have a highly developed system in place, you know, I think it's best if we have a site plan review. The project needs site plan review. We have a quarterback on site plan review for all of our projects. Let's go directly to site plan review. and that, you know, we can keep Jay in the loop. I'll be in the loop. We're all in the loop. This is, you know, it's all hands on deck over here. But as far as achieving the site plan review, let's go right in there and do it just like normal.
Okay,
So Bob, do you expect this to be the official site plan review meeting?
It will be an official. It might not be our final one, but this is a town
Okay.
project.
As long
Right.
as it's not final. 'Cause
Yeah,
they're
no, no,
looking
no,
for
no.
feedback.
We're not
Okay.
at that point,
Okay.
fellas.
All right.
Listen, this is a town project, so we've got, our team is at the disposal to, you know, we'll conduct meetings along the way. We'll give feedback, answer questions, and learn more about it. And I think that way, when we get to the point where it's a final site plan review, you know, things will be all very well developed and people will
Okay.
be familiar with the project at that point.
okay, so,
Right.
so the directive is to Matt to contact Mark Grills at Town Hall and whoever's involved in the regular site plan review process. Matt, you may want to request additional participants, I'm hearing. So just make sure all the players are available who you need to speak with. Okay, that's
We'll have the whole team. We'll have the whole team, and I'll talk to Mark about this tomorrow to grease the skids. And
great.
you'll know in advance. We have everybody. It's a comprehensive process, and
Mhm.
I think you'll enjoy it very much.
Yeah, when you say site plan review, the participants are fixed. It's, as Bob said, it's zoning, it's planning, it's everyone that's gonna ultimately have a say in they're all on that site plan review committee, so. that
Fire,
would be good-
planning, building,
Yeah.
so everything.
Wonderful help. Okay,
The
I'm
parking,
gonna
the-
grab this meeting back and recognize David.
Just something quick, just so you know, Matt, I actually had a meeting set up with, Mark. Yeah, I think he's going on vacation next week, so it may be following week. I just for your own timing information, I'm sure that they'll, you know, get you in as quickly as possible, but I believe he's on vacation next week. Just so you know.
Well, don't
Okay,
they,
and tell-
don't they have a fixed meeting? Don't they have a fixed agenda, site plan review?
I don't know about that.
I think they do, don't they, Bob? Don't they have a fixed meeting every month? A date? Or do they meet just when there's a project?
They
I
they
thought-
they set up meetings right now. You know, it's been real busy. There's a lot of, interestingly enough, there's a lot of big projects going on. But this one's our most important one. This is a town building. So I'm sure that they'll be flexible and professional and we can count on them. So we've got a team in place for this. So we'll take care of it. We'll walk Matt, you know, right through it, make sure he knows everyone that's going to be there, and we'll start the process now. I'm not certain about exactly how their scheduling works, but I can check on that in the morning.
Great, thank you. And Tom,
Matt and Maria, I have a clarifying question, so help me out a little bit here. So originally, the thought process is we were gonna build a building that was 25,000 square feet. We're now up 26.2, which is an increase of almost 5%, it's 4.8, which in my calculations runs budget up another $1.2 million. I'm just a little bit concerned about pushing the budget out. I mean, is there any flexibility to squeeze a little bit more efficiency out and push that cost back down just a little bit?
I mean, I
Or
think,
or my calculations are wrong, then you can tell me that. That's fine. I'm a big boy.
I don't know about the calculations, but I mean, the reality is that we have added net square footage, which increases the
Okay.
overall gross square footage. And so
Okay.
the way to trim it back down is to cut back on some of the things that we've added or keep the things we've added, but scale back on some of the other things. So it's a balance act, you know, if we build more, it's going to cost more, but more was requested. And so that's what's been
Yeah.
provided. So that's where I was saying, I think this is a question for you as a group to decide,
Okay.
you know, what is your comfort level with how much the building expands or not? That's really your call. But you're right. I mean, if it's growing by some percentage, we're paying for every additional square foot that we're adding to the project.
Okay.
yeah, I think we really need to be sensitive to that in the town, just
I
with
agree,
everything
yeah.
that's going on.
Right.
So wherever we can, kind of inhale a little, exhale, whatever.
Bring it in. Looking at this, and I feel I want to give David and his staff everything that they possibly want, but by the same token, I also want to be responsible to what the town's gonna have to fork out.
Okay, let's hear from John here.
Matt, can you just go back over timing? So last time, I think you said, when's the estimate get done? So after you submit in December,
Yeah,
they review.
they review it, over the course of January. I don't know exactly how long the review will take, but we submit on the 31st. They do their review and issue comments, and depending on those comments, the reason that they've asked that the cost estimate be done after the review period is in the event that comments obligate you to go back and make some changes to the building, they don't want that to they don't want that to be something that would ultimately impact cost and then have to do another estimate. So what they're saying is wait on the estimate until they've reviewed it. You've made any changes to the project that you need to based on that review, and then you estimate it at that point.
So can you just give months timeframe for that?
So,
I mean,
so
like,
I would guess that we're doing the estimate in February.
and then is that a
and
month? 2 months?
late January. It usually takes about 3 weeks for them to do the estimate, and then a week to kind of digest it, get the consultant team to review it. There's usually 1 or 2 rounds of revision to the estimate, just to make sure that everybody agrees that these are the right numbers and the assumptions that were made are correct. So there's a little bit of vetting there. So it's about a month all told to get the estimate, review it, and finalize it. But that could happen certainly by the end of February. I would say we would have an estimate that's been reviewed and vetted. Town meeting is in April, is that right? Or May? May. Okay.
It changed.
Yeah, so it gives you 2 months after the completion of that estimate to town meeting, well, I don't know, to do outreach, to kind of get the word out if you want people to understand the costs before town meeting. But that's the anticipated timing.
All right, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Susan.
Just one clarification, Matt, is it your expectation now that based on these things, that you want this group here to go over the square footage and decide whether we can live with 26,000 or come up with some suggestions of skinning it down and then come back to you with our ideas? Is that, you're not gonna come up with the ideas on how to reduce the space, are you? You expect us to sort of ratify the 26,000 or come up with an alternative figure?
Yeah, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is that the committee needs to allow comfortable with the increases or you're not.
Okay.
But I'm not expecting that the committee necessarily is going to propose the changes. Like if you came back and you said, look, we don't want this to be 1 square foot over 25,000 square feet, so we've got to cut out 1,000 square feet. We're not expecting you necessarily to tell us where to do that. I think at that point we would probably go back to David and his team and say, okay, where can we make some changes here to pull things back, or we, you guys decide that the number as it is, you're comfortable with that because it gives David and his team everything that they need. But once we submit it, that's it. I don't think that the MBLC is going to want us to reduce it after the fact.
Okay, thank you. All right, I have one little question on the assembly room, the auditorium, because I don't see an exit door. I see one.
We would have a
entrance.
second door.
Where is it going?
It will need a secondary egress, which it's not showing up in the current plan, but there would be a second way out of that room.
I was getting nervous
I think that's the last step. Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. So before we leave this, folks, do you at this point want to consider a motion to reduce the square footage by 1,000 square feet? I mean, I don't see any reason to sit on this and come back in 2 weeks and then say, oh, by the way, OE, can you do that? Mindy.
Can we give, before you make the motion, can we give library staff a chance to speak to you of why this growth was important? I know youth services took up some of it to get what we need there, and the space there was part of the growth. So, and we
So
have
did you
reasons
mean-
behind it.
Yeah, oh,
So,
for sure, for
yeah.
sure. So when you're saying library staff to respond, you mean tonight?
Well, no, like have a time where Phoebe could join us and library
I
and
see.
staff could advocate for why we need that extra 1,000 square feet.
Although we can have a motion and not vote on it and still have discussion on the motion. And then we can table the motion. I'm just, what I'm saying is, do you want to have that conversation right now, folks?
I think we should have a preliminary conversation now and then let the library staff kind of, get together and figure out which way they want to go.
Okay, so what's your thought on this, Tom?
What's my thought in terms of reduction
Yes,
or?
yeah.
Well, so I was just doing the calculations just to kind of figure out what it might be. And like I told Matt and Marika, I'm not sure that my calculations are totally correct, but my understanding is we were originally at 25, now we're at 26.2, which is a 5% increase. And if you look at it, 1,200 square feet by $1,000 a square foot is $1.2 million. I mean, it's pretty, unless I'm way off. I just don't understand. I don't think, as hard as it is right now, push this project forward. If we keep adding money to the project, it's going to get extremely hard. And looking at it right now, 1.2 might not seem like a lot. Unless Matt and his team would like to donate, and give us the extra square footage.
They're
for
gonna have a
free.
bake sale.
You can have a bake sale, Matt, right? But anyway, I think.
I'm a terrible baker.
Okay.
I could sell
That's okay.
Girl Scout cookies.
Okay. I think we should give the staff an opportunity to make their case. And maybe when they sit down and look at it, they'll look and say, oh, maybe we could give back this. I think it's only fair.
Get rid of
No,
the
I'm-
arcade,
I'm-
the weight room.
Porch.
I want the inside space so you can get rid of the porch.
No, well, that's a good question, Matt, and I meant to ask that. That square footage is just the footprint, does not include the porches
Yeah,
or the.
it's
or
enclosed space. It's enclosed.
It's enclosed space. Okay.
And at one point, I thought the number was 24,000.
No, I
Too.
did too.
So-
But I,
It was like 24/6.
And we were very proud of promoting that.
And then they
well,
came
if it's
up
24/6, then
But
we're at
26,
1
but then it went down,
yeah.
and now it's.
Well, if we went to 24/6, then you're adding 1,600 square feet. Yeah,
Yeah,
something like that.
1.6 million.
So
So 1.6 million.
what might be helpful to you guys as you have these conversations is for us, and I'm speaking for Marika here now. Marika, correct me if I'm saying anything out of school here, but it might be useful exercise for us to do a program tally that lists all of the program spaces and the net assignable square foot for each, based on I guess really the last plan that we had prior to these changes, the one that was, the kind of tightened up, most efficient plan that we had done that accommodated the program. Compare that to a list of all the net spaces in this current plan, so we can see what spaces were added and what the comparative square footage is. If the same space is in both plans, did the size stay the same? Did it shrink? Did it grow? And we can kind of see what the net differences are between the previous plan and this plan. And that might be a useful tool to kind of make some decisions about, where we might find some efficiencies or where we need to scale back. If that's what we're going to try to do. So Marika, does that seem reasonable to you?
Great. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can do that. And also I think, you know, because things were moving around since all of our program discussions, I think we need to do another round of tightening things up and right sizing, and
Yeah.
that number may reduce. And then I also think what might be helpful is if, you know, that budget creep is a problem, which obviously it is, you know, getting more precise about exactly what you need. So we would never, like, for instance, I got the feeling that the children's YA staff workroom might be slightly oversized, just based on what's going to get done there. So if, you know, there can be some precision about, oh, we need, you know, 2 6-foot tables and then room to do this specific thing. Or the multi-purpose rooms, I know there was some back and forth about exactly how many people needed to fit in those spaces. So if the staff or the LBC in general can consider exactly how many people those rooms need to accommodate, that might help us also to properly right size those rooms, because they've been a little bit in flux. Same thing for, I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought, but if we're really precise about like the meeting room, like exactly how many people need to fit in that, things like that. So if you have a chance to review the plans and you think, okay, well, this seems bigger than we need, we can start refining it.
The area that I went to right away at the study rooms, and you've got, you know, you've got a lot of study, and I think study rooms are great, absolutely have to have them. But do we need that many, or could we configure them a little bit differently and have, you know, 4-person study rooms that could be used for a single person study room, something along that line, and just throwing an idea out and shrinking them down a little bit.
Okay, so then that would go back to the whole program study that was done before, and then what accommodations were made to that. That's what we're talking about, right, folks? And you're going to give us a comparison between what was recommended at one point, what was adjusted, and that we can kind of see. Am I understanding this correctly?
Right, excuse me for interrupting, but
Dorcas.
aren't we scheduled to have a meeting next week?
We are on the 20th.
20th, yeah.
So we're talking like 1 week out. That would
Okay.
give them enough time, you know, instead of doing a decision tonight.
No, I just want to have the conversation.
That's what we were talking, yeah, do the homework.
And then come back to us and we can make a more informed decision. But I will tell you that the minute I heard 26, the warning bells started going off for me. Yeah. And because there is reluctance in the community and on the board.
And the number of 24 is out there.
Yeah,
That's
It's already been out there.
Side is 24 is out there.
Yeah.
'Cause I think in one of the meetings, Matt had made the adjustment and said, oh, we were all very happy and shrunk the
shrunk the
footprint. And I think it
right.
was down to 24.6 or 24,
I think it was,
something like that.
yeah.
Yeah, so we were all.
Yeah. Okay, all right, so, then what will the process be for the staff to give us feedback for next week's meeting? How would that work? David, you wanna mull that over openly?
I'm sure we can set up a time.
Okay, so you'll take care of that, and then you three will bring the results of those conversations back to this group next week. Okay, wonderful.
Judy, will these notes be distributed to the rest of the community?
Yeah,
I sent them out of it.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
one,
Oh, did you?
David sent it, yeah.
Today?
No, a few days ago.
I didn't get it.
I sent it to your time,
Send it to my,
email.
yeah. No.
I didn't get it.
Everybody. All right, well, we will
David,
follow up on that.
I'll give you my email address again, because I didn't get it either.
We'll follow up on that. All right, Matt, were you trying to chime in here?
Yeah, I actually have.
You are breaking up a
breaking up
little.
now.
You're frozen.
You're
can't hear you,
frozen.
Matt.
Connection is not very good. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
You can hear you, yep.
You can hear me?
Can't
All
see
right,
you.
my,
Good look
my,
at you.
my connection is unstable. We lost internet here, so I'm working off my phone. Um,
Yeah.
the other thing that I wanted to bring up, if we're ready to move on to another topic, is, and Bob, maybe this is a question for you. We're trying to coordinate our geotech. We have an obligation from the MBLC to provide a geotech report as part of our submission. We have a geotech engineer on our team, McPhail Associates. Originally, we had thought that the building was going to be over in the open space, as everyone knows. That's a pretty easy lift for a drill rig to get in there and do borings. We are now on, a densely wooded corner of the site, much more difficult for a drill rig to get in there. So I've been having conversations with McPhail about how to do this, and some back and forth with the MBLC about how far we have to take the geotech investigation. At this point, it sounds like we can do a kind of preliminary geotech report. So we don't want to go in there and start clearing trees in order to get a drill rig, all the way back into the sort of middle of the adult wing to do a boring when we don't know yet that we're going to have a successful town meeting, right? We don't want to go through that exercise and expense. And so we're trying to figure out a limited way of getting geotech information that would provide us with a preliminary report. I'm trying to get confirmation from the MBLC that that's acceptable, but it sounds like it would be, with the understanding that if this project moves forward, which we all hope it will, obviously, in the schematic design phase, we would then do a full-blown geotech investigation, which would require some clearing in that area. But at that point, we'd have the confidence that the project's moving forward. So all of this is a kind of roundabout way of asking you, Bob, what's the best way to coordinate that work? It might require some coordination with DPW. I know there's a chain link fence around the wooded area. It may be that a section of that chain link fence needs to be removed in order to get the drill rig kind of as tightly in as possible. I think it's going to require a little bit of on the ground coordination. So what's the best way to manage that on the town side?
I think the best way to manage that is to have a discussion with Jeff Colby, our DPW director. We'll be able to support, and I can bring the topic up with him, but it would probably be best to have someone follow up with him with as much of the specific information as possible. And our DPW is great. We'll be able to support. I'm sure it's not going to be a problem.
Okay, I have a call scheduled tomorrow with McPhail, so maybe what I'll do is I'll reach out to him and suggest that we do a quick conference call to talk about it with our geotech engineer. So I can reach out to him tomorrow.
All right, that'll be great. And again, our DPW director, Jeff Colby, will include him in the loop and work it out together.
Great, thanks.
Okay. All right, so next, can we leave program? Are we good on program, folks? Okay, so our next item was site updates, and I think you just kind of slid into that, Matt, with talking about needing the geotech assessment. Is there anything else on the site?
We are continuing to have coordination meetings with our landscape architect about parking layouts. We are going to present some parking revisions that try to incorporate some of the comments that we've heard. So I think by next Thursday, we'll be able to share those with you.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so.
Good. All right. So then moving to special town meeting, which is Monday, not Tuesday, Monday, November 17th. And we have approval from the town moderator, Ken Moody, to distribute our trifolds. So that's kind of cool. So we can meet people. He recommended that we actually be inside the building, that people felt that the activity was more obtrusive if we were out on the sidewalk, which I did go back and forth with him on email to make sure I understood that he wanted us indoors, so that's
In the
nice.
lobby.
In the lobby, yes. So I would like to get a commitment. Well, let's first talk about time. Town meeting starts at 6. So I think we would need to be there like at 5 to just get oriented and get,
I'd be there.
okay, thanks, Tom.
No, I-
Okay, and I can be there.
I have to be there for planning.
You have to be there anyway. Okay.
I'm in the select board meeting.
Yeah,
before
you're,
town.
yes, right, you're posted already, okay. Okay, and I do have a request into Mary Alice for some copies, so, I'll pick those up.
Then make a suggestion,
Yes,
please? Because it's involving, I mean, small, I believe, this meeting, there's gonna be a lot of parents there. This would be a good time to get out a volunteer and sign up list to get some involvement from the parents. I don't know if you can do that, but.
yeah, we can't
Oh,
do
okay.
that, no, we can't recruit, we can provide
Okay.
information, yep. And John's going to be, has a way to set these up at the St. Pius Fair this Saturday. I'm guessing they have good baked goods too, so, that'll be happening.
We're not presenting anything at special town meeting.
No, the special town meeting, the item on the warrant article is a select board.
MacArthur.
Yeah,
MacArthur.
and it's the request for the fundings to assess. So we don't have a.
Where's
written
FinCom on that right now?
It's FinCom on.
I
the
don't
On
assessment.
their, I
haven't
Cause,
heard back, I haven't heard back on their
Richard-
recommendations.
I'm not sure. I'm getting mixed feelings that they may not go along with it.
Well,
Along with what?
the recommendation, you know how when you have a warrant article and they
Yeah, yeah.
say, it's like,
Oh, you mean
Uh,
MacArthur School? You thought that
Yes,
orange? Okay,
yeah.
got it.
I don't know, and I'm not gonna speak for Richard, but
okay. Well, we'll find out.
And the meeting is at the new school, isn't it?
Yeah.
On Station Ave?
on
Yeah.
Station Avenue.
That's what I thought.
Okay, and,
That's horrible auditorium.
Mhm.
yeah. Okay.
Generation Ever.
So let's slide into outreach. Oh, and Matt, I did have one other comment. I don't think there's ever anything that's informal with our planning board because our chair of the planning board is she runs a tight ship.
Well, that doesn't mean we're not informal. We're very informal.
Yeah, I only meant informal in that we're not expecting them to render any kind of decisions,
No,
right? We're not asking for relief. We're not asking for permission. It's informational only.
Informational,
They
yes,
will comment though, Matt.
yeah, they will.
I'm sure they will. Hey, I was on the planning board in my town for 6 years. What, you have to comment or, you don't look good.
Okay, so moving into outreach, and I have Jen down here because Jen had sent a clip, a link to a video that they had done with the Amherst Public Schools for a new school building, which was kind of an interesting project. That must have been a fun project because they were building a new school on the same site with the old school, so nobody was disrupted. And I also rewatched the Orleans one that they had done, and I know John had really liked that Orleans one. And I want to just throw that out for folks, what going forward, where do we need to put our energies and what do we want to accomplish? There've been some conversations about doing short clips like the Sonics they used to do on WCAI. And so it would be, this is my favorite part of the library. I love to come to the library because I get new cookbooks every time. And then somebody else and they're saying, the staff is always wonderful and they serve us and I don't have a printer at home, so I come here and they're very helpful. The one in Orleans was more of a story and it was short clips of people, but they were in the library. There were people from cross sections of the community. So it was library board members, trustee, whatever their nomenclature is over there, multiple library users, people who had been on past committees, present committees, select board. I think there was a planning board person, but they were all in a chair in the library or sitting in an area of the library or talking about a need for the library. The library director is in it, but they tell the story of why there is a need for the library, interwoven with what they love about the library. So those are two very different conceptual approaches. And then the one from Amherst was, it included a lot of technical information. It told the story, and there were fewer speakers. I think there were 3 total. Is that right, Jen? There was the
I
director,
don't recall off the top of my head.
There was like the committee chairperson, the architect, and one other person, I think, who told the story.
Yeah, and that one's more of, that one is like a website, like any, like if you went to the town website and you clicked here and you clicked here and you clicked here to see the different pages of what you're looking for. That it's like a whole project website. It's got the page about the story. It's got the page that answers questions. I had Tim pull it up because I'm having trouble with my computer tonight and opening it. But yeah, it's got the homepage about the project, information about meetings, and it talks about it explains to everyone what is going on with the project, the entire project. Like, it's not just one document that has some clips like you were mentioning in, I think you said Orleans.
Yep.
This has frequently asked questions. It's possibly a little bit more interactive. It talks about the project team. There's different facets of this. It would be updated semi-regularly. If people had new questions, or after a meeting, we might post I know they'll be on your town website, but maybe meeting minutes would be posted. I don't know how you feel about that, but this is kind of more inclusive of everything, rather than kind of the sales pitch. I don't, for lack of a better term.
No, that is a good term. That's what it was.
Yeah, so this is there's like 8 different quote unquote pages on here that explain everything about this project. And how are we addressing sustainability? How can you get involved in this? It would have meetings, it would have information. And what Tim and I got from our marketing person is basically the different phases of this to get it up and going. There would be the kind of a kickoff meeting, see what you want in there, what kind of branding you want. Do you have any special logos, that type of thing? What documents, what message are you trying to get across? Then there would be the actual design of it, build out the kind of homepage thing. And from what I understand, it's not super cumbersome for our team to do this, if you want to do that. Develop the website, any custom forms, any links for anything that you might want. And then we could do project updates. You could have, stakeholder information, timelines, maps, any visuals, type of things like that. And then it would just be it would be updated whatever regular period of time we want to update it. And then there's just there would be a cost to get it up to up and going, and then there would be a monthly or an annual, monthly or annual like domain registration for the site for the town to have it up and going. This is and information I've gotten is relatively rough, but I didn't I didn't make anything super formal yet until I knew if this is a direction that you wanted to go. But
Okay, now I want to loop in Bob here because this was something that Bill was promoting before he left. And he had shown us.
Can I chime in
oh,
before you go to Bob?
Sure thing. Okay,
I'm
Dorcas.
pulling my selectman's hat, Bob. I think that the more, we have a trust issue in town. We have a truth issue in town. And I think the more is better than less.
Absolutely.
I think put it all out there.
Yeah,
The more the merrier.
Yeah, an educated citizen is your best, is your
Absolutely.
fiercest ally.
the most,
Yeah,
that's
your
the
best
biggest
ally.
protection for
Yeah.
democracy.
What do you
Okay,
think, Bob?
okay.
No,
so
I
what
think
was
it's
gonna-
I think it's a great idea. We need to do this. It's very similar. You could take a look at the website we established for the wastewater project. And I'd like to hook you up, Jen, with our communications team, Lori Sullivan. They can be a
Okay.
great help, and together, let's try to get this up as soon as we can.
okay,
Yeah,
all right.
yeah.
Get with, what's her
Okay,
name?
so-
Lori what?
It's Lori Sullivan,
Sullivan, okay.
and she's a L Sullivan at yarmouth.ma.us.
Okay,
All right, so that's the go-ahead, right, Bob?
Absolutely, 100%. Go ahead.
There's the, okay, so glad to have you here, Bob.
Well,
It's like, yes, go.
Yes, 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 okay, and let's see. Oh, and then the other event, and that's not for a couple of weeks, is the cookie stroll that we'll need flyers for, and maybe someone who might want to hang out here and talk to cookie strollers. They come here to get their ticket over in the back and,
Awesome.
very important. And bring money to buy cranberry bread.
Right.
So. Maybe we can set up an area. Just for that. During the cookie stroll. Oh, okay.
And I
Wow.
can help out that day because no children come in on a cookie stroll day. They're all walking and getting cookies. It's a
Yeah.
very slow day down in the children's room. So I can
Also-
rotate out and
There's
help.
also a lot of cultural center because there's Christmas
You have the fair, don't they?
fair going
Yeah,
on,
they
right?
do, right. Yeah, I don't think we can horn in on their space though, right?
Maybe they would let put the pamphlets out.
Well, yeah, because they have a foyer, so
Yeah.
they.
Yeah,
have a table,
maybe.
you
They
can put it
do,
on the foyer.
yeah.
Mhm.
You have to ask, but we could,
December 13th.
I can ask. I'll try.
December 13th. You're gonna have,
can
excuse
ask.
me, the cultural
I
center?
can ask.
Okay. All righty. Okay, let's review upcoming meetings. So we have next week.
Judy, before you
Yes.
go, there's one
Yes.
thing, and I didn't bring the paperwork, and I'm sorry, and I'll send it out to you, and I got this from Richard Simon, and it's a study
Oh.
that, and it deals with construction on the two schools, what it would take money-wise from square one, either destruction and rebuild of MacArthur or ME Small, the whole dollar breakdown, and I'd like to send that out to people so people can review it.
This is some research that he did,
He
right?
did,
He did
correct.
it. He's the master of research. Richard
master of
Simon is
research.
the
Yes.
chair of the
Yeah.
FinCom.
Yeah.
And he does deep dives into things.
But I'll send it out to you and you can forward it on to everybody else. And give
Thank
you an idea of what the dollar breakdown would be in terms of whether you did, from scratch
Mhm.
or a total redo of the building.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Potentially.
Thank you. Alrighty. Okay.
Tom,
so-
sorry, one question. Tom, that's assuming school use, correct?
It-
That study.
It's both according to what Richard says. You know what, Matt, if you'd like, I can send you a copy as well.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see it.
Sure.
Okay, so, next week's meeting is scheduled here. However, that's the same night that the library board is meeting here. And so we have that same choice that we had before of moving our meeting to 6:30 or maybe starting or having our meeting downstairs and starting it at 6 while the library board finished their meeting here. up here?
Problem would be is there would have to be a staff member up here because they're both open meetings. If we're down the basement, we have to make sure somebody is up here, making sure nobody's entering. Oh, but
Oh,
the
he-
board ends at 6 when they end
Yours runs pretty tight.
and you come downstairs at 6, there'd be nobody up here watching the door.
No, he would stay to the end of that meeting and come to our meeting
Yeah.
late.
But when he comes downstairs, there's nobody upstairs to watch the door and secure the building.
Oh, the door has to be, can it just be locked?
We're an open meeting.
We had the doorbell last time.
But-
I don't know if that
but-
worked.
Here's my question, David. Could the meeting for the board be downstairs? Because then Joe and I will be up here setting up for this meeting. So we will have the
Yeah.
room to monitor the space up here quietly while they use the Leonard room.
That seems like,
I think that it would be an easier switch, yeah.
Okay, so then, my concern was, not having David be at all these long meetings and also for everybody here to begin at 6. So we can begin at 6. You folks will be with us to
Yeah.
do the, yes,
Yeah.
here upstairs. And then the library board, will be asked to meet in the Leonard room. Okay, and okay, so that's the 20th. I will be remote. So I would like to ask Tom to chair that meeting. And then the 3rd is with the planning board, and that is at 5:30.
Mhm.
And I would like for you to keep on your calendars December 4 also, just because I'm feeling like we're coming up to the end and it would be better to have meetings at the beginning of December than at deadline time.
And the 4th would be here, regular time here.
Yeah, same,
Okay.
same time, same station. And also then we skipped the 11th and then put in for the 18th. Now, with that kind of a schedule, I'm gonna ask you, Matt, meeting the 20th. You will be meeting with the site folks and then with planning board on the 3rd, potentially with us again on the 4th and with us again on the 18th. Does that give your team enough wrap-up time to wrap up this question of shrinking or whatever we're going to call that? And then getting the parking issues and tying everything up in a bow to submit.
Yeah, so in terms of the square footage question, I think that needs to be resolved by the next meeting on the 20th.
Yes. Yes.
And once we have a decision one way or the other, we can make those edits, finalize that plan. And, we would, I guess, share that with you on the 4th. At which point we're in pretty good shape with the plan. At the same time, we're going to be continuing our ongoing conversations with consultants, which will have some minor impact on planning. We fine tuning the sizes of the utility spaces and things like that. But we can be doing that sort of in the meantime, even leading up until the meeting next week. So I feel like if we get a decision from you guys next week that sort of ratifies the program, we can finalize the plan. I think there's time there to get everything buttoned up. There's still a question about the timing of this meeting with site plan review folks. So I'll reach out tomorrow and try to see if we can schedule that. One question about the planning board meeting is that, do they do their meetings in person? Do they do them remotely? Should we plan to be there in person for that meeting?
Either or, they do both. They do hybrid. It's always great to see a body in the room.
Yeah, I mean, I can
it's
certainly
up to
plan to
you.
be there.
Yeah, although I have to tell you, if you can get site plans set up, it's more important that you all go to site plan.
Yep.
That's a very important, that is, Bob said, it's a very important meeting, and you'll have all the key players there.
Yeah,
It's always
okay.
great, if planning we do both, but it's always, and we'd love to have you there, but if you have to make a choice, because they'll be very close together, I would suggest you go to site plan. I think that's more important.
Okay,
Agreed.
all right.
And I'm
I
on
mean,
the planning board, and I'm saying that.
I mean, ideally, we can manage to be there in person for both, but I just didn't want to plan on coming down in person for the planning board if everybody is remote. So,
No, we're all there in person.
okay, you are, okay, all right, great.
Do we want to pencil in a December 11 meeting? Again, thinking to have things in the earlier part of the month. This is just if we need to.
Yeah, I think it wouldn't hurt
Instead
to
of the
have that.
18th, yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be fine.
Keep them both, but let's see. In other words, we're not meeting to meet, all right? So when we get to the end, when we get the project done, then we're gonna stop meeting and take a deep breath and then reconvene in January with new activities. So if we're moving along, we've made the space decisions, we are agreed on the parking, that question about those 18 spots to the west of the school where do those belong? Who do they belong to? And we get all of those things cleared up, then we should be in good shape. And then that's when we say we're done. This print, submit, and we're not meeting again until we have a new direction in January. Okay, is that agreed?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. So Sandy will get that in the minutes, which she always does. And I have reached the end. Does anyone else have anything? John? Oh, you're good?
I'm good.
All right. All right. We're gonna have a motion to adjourn this meeting, please. Dorcas and by Tom. And I'm just going to do a couple vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
David,
Same.
David, my apologies, it came in today. Your email came in my email today.
Motion carried. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all
Bye,
for
guys.
coming.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
you. Thank you.
No, I'm just
Bye.
gonna check the
Everybody.
email, make sure
Bye.
I'm sending it to the right one.
I
Yeah.
didn't get it. When did he send it?
I just got it
sent
today, so
yesterday.
just check again right now and see if you got
I
it.
have you right here.
I was still.
I just
Yeah,
got it.
yeah,
It might have even gone into